This is the Israel Nash Transmission, a signal sent from the hills carrying stories, songs, and ideas across time and space. Here we'll explore the mysteries of art, of struggle, of human spirit through conversation. And tonight, it begins with me. I'm joined by my brother in music and in life, Eric Swanson, to help lay bare the journey that's brought me here, where I've been and where it leads. This is the starting point, the first spark, a signal cast. The transmission begins. Eric, thanks for coming to the studio.
Absolutely, man. It's my home away from home, and was actually my home for a short period of time. So I always love coming back. Well, yeah. So let's just get right into it. What's going on? What have you been up to? People, the fans want to know what's going on with Israel Nash. Did you get lost in the woods?
It's to me, it's the continuous river that changes in form and level and shape. And for me, it's been a time of kind of solitude artistically and drawing more inward. I think in an earnest attempt to separate parts of my life from not only as an artist, but as an artist pursuing a public space, and what that statement is, especially in today's world, something we started to kind of feel more during COVID and the pause of art, the separation, the difficulty, just talking to other friends and other people in our industry, caused a disruption. Yeah, caused a major disruption that was large enough to have reverberations that we're still feeling, and unrelated to that, but just this discussion of a modern world, and that I think is a new world, and it's just easier and should be easier and easier to see the distance from the past, and so much of art and its public broadcast in the form of albums, and it's just changed and shifted so much in our life, and these mediums have changed. And
what do you think is the biggest thing that's changed in say the last 5 years from an industry standpoint?
I think it's kind of fair to look at it as, the Napster era, the end of the physical CD, or what signaled the end. That once the industry could sell fewer and fewer of these physical formats, it was just natural that it was going to be cheaper. And this was just happening in all the digital world over time with software. When in an old world, it had such brick and mortar aspects of communicating vast networks across oceans to move physical product. And that was shattered by the early 2000s. And that was the era that we were starting to get into a path of professional artistry.
How do you've been trying to navigate these waters, essentially, the changes, and figure out how to move forward as an artist and as a business, how to move forward to make it make sense, and provide the best art you can for your fans and for you, because that's also what it's about. And I think a huge part of that story is we talk about this a lot, but kind of the changing of the guard, the fading away of the middleman, because those jobs just aren't needed as much anymore. So you've been trying to figure out what that means for you as an artist to have all of these things kind of changing, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. I think this is this kind of multifaceted, where there's an artistic complex to it, of what it means as we age, as you've created a catalog, and had developed something. There's a spiritual aspect to it of like your connection with the art and yourself, your desire to. I think that music for me is part of a pinnacle of human expression, and I think the way it's channeled to fans has its own fascinating ability for fans to create their own stories, because that's what this is. As humans, stories are so critical to our history, to our own kind of human DNA and code, you know.
Yeah.
And on the financial side, it's, you know, simply like, how do you structure this business for a modern world, and what are artists, what position are they in? And we've talked about the intermediaries, the middlemen, and how the landscape of the industry changes at a rate in which you can't keep up, you know. And I just think that as these tools become more available to us, we're in the studio, people have access to these actual technological material goods that are unlike any other time. And then we have the advances of this technological software that we've said to release and to advertise and to promote. Again, less of trying to make sure the record's in every store, less of is this being reviewed in a magazine that doesn't exist anymore? I mean, that how much can we depend on that old system and the artifacts of it that haven't caught up? And a lot of these are good people and whatnot, but ultimately I'm concerned about my world and that world that is related to it, which is artistry and the artists.
Yeah.
And being a true voice, at least to myself and to people around me, that, hey, let's think about us.
Yeah.
Let's think about artistry and what does it mean? I mean, I just think that as the world, you know, continues to shape into a new direction, that it's been hard for that industry to keep up.
Yeah.
Just little things like maybe collecting a royalties payment every 6 months, rather than, again, we live in a modern world with modern tools where people can get paid in real time.
Yeah.
And some of these are just artifacts of an old system that haven't been updated.
Right.
And I don't see them being updated.
Yeah.
And I see a future where we've talked about this for years with other artists. And a lot of these feelings are you know, triangulated between our own feelings, our own, what we've seen, talking to other artists, talking to a depth of people in the industry, promoters, you know, crew folks, just the vast amount of people, and kind of getting their take and their feel. And it hasn't been an exceeding optimism in that.
Yeah.
I think there's been a reduction of that force, obviously. And
Yeah, I mean, the entire industry has changed, and you know, I think that really kind of the fundamental story here is as we said, you know, art and creativity and music is not going away, and it's just the way that we make it and the way that it's delivered to the consumer or to the, you know, the fan has completely been upended. You know, kind of a slow rolling wave of technology over the last really 30 years, let's say, from the advent of like digital recording and the internet and streaming and all. But so yeah, it's how do any of the players at any level of the industry work it out, and then just trying to stay relevant as an artist, you know, is trying to do that on top of all that other stuff is a huge challenge.
And we've talked about this with our conversation last night. What is relevance? What is success? You know.
Yeah.
And I think that I've been saying that success is being able to take advantage of these tools, and this has been a vision of mine for a while. And this is kind of part of the pause that I had, was that I viewed that for so long we've been in record cycles where you make a record every 2 years that has a touring component. Again, COVID shattered some of these concepts, and now when we live in such a media and a content-based world, what does that mean? And what is our version of content? And it's high art, it's songs, it's music.
Yeah.
So I had a vision where I can make more albums than one every 2 years. I have a lot more music in me than that.
Yeah.
I think the vision for artists should be to get their catalogs. If they don't own their catalogs, to figure out a way to own them, to negotiate out contracts to get their records back.
Yeah.
Because streaming is the most powerful and consistent way to collect on that.
Yeah.
And that's where I see it, is just continually growing this catalog with more releases, not once every 2 years, something that can have a consistency.
You know, I think in the old,
places.
you know, in the old days, there used to be a lot more consolidation, as we were talking about, of you know, a record label could have all of these services underneath it, and now it's more a la carte. So you really are dealing with, like, you know, a publicist over here, and then a completely separate business for, you know, distribution and whatever it is. So your goal has been to kind of, you know, get all of that under your own control, so that you can, you know.
Yes, I mean, to me, it gives you more agency, and that's ultimately what we all thirst for outside of artistry.
Oh, yeah.
We want to be able to be in control of our futures. So I have a plan of expanding this catalog exponentially, and being able to own that space, the decisions, where it goes.
Yeah.
And if more artists were in these label and traditional structures were to start to understand that, because almost every business entity in music right now, labels, publishers, distributors are buying up catalogs. So it's a good sign to be like, people see that as an anchor of the future. This is about a revolution. This is something that, using these tools from creation to distribution, and also through ownership and more direct ownership and more direct decision, is something that increases economic and changes economic mobility. What does it do when you have, if an artist can make 100 grand more a year,
Yeah.
50 grand, that is this economic mobility that puts you in class risings. And what does that do? It gives, when you expand your economic power, you expand your agency. And that's what we talked about at the beginning, that choice and your options and your control of something. So I think that's what I wanted to create, and I would encourage other artists, especially artists in maybe these top 10% of, you know, that are used to traditional labels and certain deals, to rethink this in a more revolutionary way that gives them a beautiful opportunity to not only create at their heart's delight and at a tempo that is not dictated, and do so at a place where they can raise their own economic stability in a long-term way that ensures that platform. I think it's been about how do we create something that allows
more music.
Yes, allows more music.
Yeah.
More releases, more connections. And I think that we've been able to be a part of bringing music to people and finding fans and finding people that had interest and being a part of that. And we live in no better time to be able to connect to those people and to expand that, not only with kind of a more radical release schedule of music. You know, we're going to start releasing these records with moods.
Yeah. It was
So
kind of born out of the idea that we wanted to create more and different too. You know,
Sure.
Let's try something different that we had never done before, an instrumental album.
Yes, and share that space and grow something in time, and ideally make this part of a series, a moods series where we can explore. I wanted to really lift you up and premiere, you know, the power of the steel, and we just got to play around. The power of the steel. So yes, I think fans are going to find something unique. I think that there's an analog, there's a thread. It's from the same collection.
It sounds like us still. It doesn't sound like a Israel Nash album per se, but you know, it's an adventure.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, for me, it was a great vehicle to explore, because, you know, I've never really been a traditionalist on pedal steel, and I feel like that's that. You know, I always just try to cut my own path, for better or for worse, and it was a really great vehicle for me to be able to kind of push forward on that idea of having this instrument that's so beloved in country music, and it's a really purely true American instrument. It's I think it's fascinating to be able to push an instrument like that forward. So
I think so too. To push that forward, and to be able for us to bring in maybe other instrumentation that we wouldn't traditionally bring in. There's just a lot of in the box and looping and just exploring stuff that I think is going to inform the next project, because that's what happens. You do these projects and you have certain goals to make an album and to release it, but then you also get a skill set. You learn to do something, and you add, to your quiver. And
for sure.
And I think that, where does that lead? What does that do? And
so another seminal pedal steel work was "Sweetheart of the Rodeo," the classic album by the Byrds. Many highly regarded and generally regarded as the first alternative country album, alt country album from the late 60s. It's the Byrds.
It's the Byrds.
It's the Byrds, baby.
That's not the Byrds.
It is the Byrds.
So, yes, "Sweetheart of the Rodeo" is that seminal album. It's kind of a cornerstone album that has long been noted as the door that opened to Americana and those tributaries of Cosmic and the Graham Parsons, obviously.
All the nudie suits and Telecasters flow from the headwaters of "Sweetheart of the Rodeo."
So I, as another goal of finding other spaces to write about, because at the end of the day, you can't write 3 solo albums in a year. It's just that is a process in itself to write that many songs. So how do you make these additional releases? You have to have just more muses and more ideas, kind of concepts down the line. So one of these was to show fans and share with them some albums that I've loved that have kind of shaped my artistry. And with my love for American music and the sonic textures, "Sweetheart of the Rodeo," it's like, how do we update this to the next generation of where Americana and that genre has come since 1968 per se. As sometimes I think as an artist outside of anything else, that you're a cog in the wheel and you're telling a story of the people in this world. And to me, it's an updated story of a tradition. So I guess it is a part of this idea of keeping these traditions alive.
Yeah.
But it's not replicating them, because I call these cover albums more like a reimaginations. I mean, I think that there are probably purists that will dislike some of the things that I've done.
Oh, almost certainly.
There's melodic shifts. There's complete sonic shifts.
Yeah.
So how do we update this stuff? And so I want to, pay some respect to these figures and create these albums that have shaped me, but put me inside of it.
And a large part of our story and your story is that kind of cross-pollination. I mean, this group of friends that met in living in New York City, and that came to the table with different influences and stuff, and then we ended up, experimenting with using the studio as a tool with barn doors and literally in a barn in upstate New York, and then eventually Rain Plans.
I just moved to Texas.
Just moved to Texas, and all of us had, I had just moved back to Texas myself from New York, and then and so we all got together and made this psychedelic album on an old Studer tape machine.
When I moved to Texas, it started, as you often know, when you move to different places and encounter different parts, that again you absorb these spaces, these flavors as an artist, and they are expressed through artistic expression. This value of having something to say and it coming out. And once I moved there, it shifted the whole writing perspective to me. Once I moved to Texas, and I wanted to make an album that looked like the Hill Country.
Right. So
that was, and these were parts of me also growing as a producer. How do you communicate these things? And that's an art that I think I've learned. That discussing music for me has always been very cinematic and visual, and I've tried to double down on that, because I think it's, again, I think the power of the image is another one of those partners of the story that together gives us, focus and and desire. So I've always wanted to apply these images and put them into the music and share that while we're making a record, like saying that, hey, look outside this window. It's a purple pink sunset in the hill country, and you can see miles in the distance of hills and different shades and shadows and textures and plants that are foreign, trees that are short.
Yeah.
And that becomes a part of it, and you hear that in the album.
Yeah,
whatever that
sure.
is. And
Yeah.
to make art and make Rain Plans, which now is going to be reissued as a 10 years later with some other cuts, other outtakes, some other renditions, and it's an album that, because I don't think that any album launches the career. To me, it's all these albums just kind of add stepping stones. And Rain Plans certainly added a wonderful stepping stone to expand and to play for more people and to share that music. And when you see how much some of those songs have impacted people,
if somebody who had a first kiss to listening to some song, it's like that's their experience now, and that song is tied to that experience for them. And so I think it's one of the most powerful things about music, is that you can tell your story and then share it with other people, and then even though you've never met them, that your story becomes part of their story.
Well, it's why it's arguably, to me, one of the pinnacle of this artistic expression, because unlike a film where you can watch that and enjoy it, but you're led very clearly to be like, well, this is what this character looks like. And literature has its own ability to create imagery on your own through these pages, but music itself almost doesn't guide them at all. Someone can have a memory of a first kiss. Someone could have a tragic memory with the same song.
Exactly.
And so then it just shows you that they've expressed that song to just be a part of that moment, more deeply a part of their life.
Yeah.
And that means that songs have more legs to be served in different emotional settings, and that's powerful.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is what some of the things that we keep chasing, man, is making a soundtrack to the real movie, the real life of these people. And where do you find that drive? Where do you find that desire? I think that you find it it's always the next project. You're always chasing the next song, and that's beautiful as an artist. You don't want it to dry up.
Yeah.
You want to always be chasing something more, and if you can expand that and continue to grow it, then I think you'll have security in a way that's real and fulfilling. 3 albums, 1 year, 1 vision. Pre-order Moods, Sweetheart of the Rodeo, and a very special 10th anniversary deluxe edition of Rain Plans at israelnash.com. And now, the premiere of Odessa from our new album, Moods.
Yeah. So yeah, what are we doing here? We're talking to each other. We're being filmed. What can people expect in the future? What is this thing that we're doing?
The transmission is a place to filter the noise behind the signal, talk to people from different slices of the industry, from the cultural world, from the writing world, and have them as a part of this growing journey of knowledge and how to understand our modern society, how to understand it from a cultural perspective, a spiritual perspective, an artistic perspective, a political, economic perspective, that these are powerful pillars that shape the very societies we live in. And especially as we've noticed that, some of what we've identified as the collapse of culture in an old world, which has also led to what some call as a fragmentation of culture in the new media, in the internet, online, and social media. But even fragmentation has a kind of a pejorative nature, but maybe it's just a smorgasbord of options to express
a lot of microcultures, that have kind of popped up out of the smashing of the old monoculture. Yeah.
And that requires something to meet that moment, is to unmask, to reveal more layers of thought in balanced and controlled and thoughtful ways. And I think the underlying goal is also chasing this concept that we've spoken a lot about, as rock and roll ethos, which is that thing that drew us. It's something that's more than symbols alone. There's something that was created before us that we lived through that now has changed so vastly, but is it incumbent upon us as a budsman of this space, and at least of this music, to do our best to ignite that flame, not only shine it, but to increase it, and increase this concept of rock and roll ethos in a modern world, because it can't be the same of that. It has to be something new. Yeah. And I think that's been lost, and that definition has been lost, and I don't want it to be lost forever.
There's a bunch of people cosplaying country bands, honky tonk, and it's cool to see the music come back and get some attention, but at some point it needs to be pushed forward, and that's where true artistry comes in. And I think that's always something that you've championed.
But they're visionless, they're momentary, and it's like vision has distance, it has somewhere to go, and has a place for growth.
Yeah, but it's something we've always agreed on too, is just kind of trying to push forward and new ideas,
and it's about vision.
That's what this is.
And I think about some of the absence that I had was about, and I think I've communicated that to you, was that I've always been someone that kind of had a vision or a next thing. Yeah. And this was a time where I wasn't sure about that. So to not be connected to that did cause a dissonance for me. And what all that meant. So I feel like I had to crack a lot of different things in this time away.
Yeah. And I remember when you called me, you said what you just said a second ago, is, I don't want to talk to people unless I have a vision, a plan,
Yeah. To have the vision. I'm just, I'm a guy that believes where there is no vision, that people perish. Yeah. And that's soulful, man. That's physical, that's soulful, and at a spiritual level even. So I think that this time away has regenerated, recreated a new vision that has a longer distance.
You wandered in the wilderness. So things are good, and man, I'm super stoked for this next chapter.
Yeah, may the transmission begin.
Yeah, the transmission.